Hello again. Several of you have asked me to make a video explaining why I've been making these Anita Sarkeesian videos and why they've taken the direction that they have. I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk about how I heard about Anita, what I think about her brand of feminism, and what led me to start making these videos. I first heard about Anita Sarkeesian in late 2011 on Metafilter. If you haven't heard of it, it's a popular internet news aggregator/discussion board that's been around for quite some time. I ended up watching two of her videos. One was about BitTorrent porn ads, and the other was about gendered toy ads. Long story short, I ended up thinking she was a total moron and didn't watch any more. I heard about the Tropes vs. Women project in June of 2012 shortly before the controversy really took off, but I didn't bother looking into it or figuring out who was running it. The next time I heard about it was when the second part of her Damsels in Distress video came out earlier this year. A few video game news sites I go to picked it up, and I ended up watching it because of that. Again, I thought Anita was an idiot. Nobody's going to say that tropes like the damsel in distress aren't overused, but Anita was reading all of these really bizarre sexist messages into the games she critiqued that any reasonable person would know aren't there. She seemed to me to be one of those feminists who thought that if she spent the formative years of her adulthood cloistered away among similarly ignorant people, poring over male culture like alien anthropologists and inventing words like phallocentric, she could learn everything there is to know about why men think the way they do and why male culture is the way it is. There's a whole slew of feminist pop culture critics that have spent their whole academic careers producing content solely for each other, without ever venturing out enough into the wider world to be able to temper their wonky feminist ideas with some common sense. The end result of this is feminist critiques of pop culture that are so insane, nobody outside their field would ever take them seriously. I've seen a few of these types of critiques over the years, and never really cared. Why should I? These people have no power or influence. They're a joke. Anita seemed no different. Anyway, at the time I watched Anita's Damsel video, I also started browsing 4chan's video game board, V, after having taken a several-year break from it. As I started frequenting the board, I noticed that there was a huge number of threads about Anita and feminism. People seemed terrified of her and the encroaching influence of feminism upon gaming culture, which I thought was ridiculous. So, I didn't take the V-threads about Anita and feminism seriously, but I did learn a bit more about her and her project in the process. I didn't care about her being a scammer or anything like that. So she milked a bunch of dolts out of $160,000. So what? Let her enjoy her new portioned fake tits, and let that be a lesson to idiots and white knights everywhere. More recently, I heard on V that there were several conspiracy theories going around about her. Out of morbid curiosity, I started scouring YouTube for them, and this led me to a video called Anita Sarkeesian, The Early Years by Jordan Owen 42. In the video, he conjures up this grand story about Anita being a career con artist led on by her boyfriend Jonathan McIntosh. It was an interesting idea, but it was based on mostly circumstantial evidence that didn't seem to prove much. Just for fun, I decided to spam the video on V and Paul to see what would happen. The video only had several hundred views when I saw it, but soon jumped to several thousand. Much to my surprise, people on V began taking it seriously. News of the video spread, and the controversy over it eventually got so bad that Anita personally responded saying the theory was nonsense. I found this hilarious. A week ago, I was bored and decided that I was going to make my own Anita conspiracy theory, just to dick with people. I was originally just going to make a post on V. While looking for images to use in my post, I randomly came across a link to the Vimeo page that has her Santa Monica College 2010 lecture. I decided to watch it, and eventually I got to the point where she says I'm not a fan of video games and that she thinks they're gross. I had been handed my conspiracy theory on a silver platter. The best part was, this was actually real information and not just conjecture. I decided I had to make a video about it, which was a problem because I had never made a video before in my life and didn't know the first thing about making videos. As it turned out, someone else did the work for me. When I came back to my video the following day, It had received nearly 100,000 views and had been mentioned by people all over the internet. At one point, the views were jumping up by several thousand every 15 minutes. I was taken aback by how much notice it received. I put the video up on YouTube and left it there, figuring I'd spam it on V the next day and then follow it up with a "You've been trolled" video. At that point, I had to rush the troll video to get it out before my views tapered off. It was very poorly thought out, and I ended up not getting around to this quick enough. By the time I released the troll video, the interest in my first video had died down. The troll video only got a little over 1,000 views, and a whole bunch of people commenting on it thought I was Jonathan McIntosh. I found this amusing because I'm sure he's much better at making videos than me. Not long after this, I sat down and thought about this whole situation. I had to look over a whole bunch of interviews with Anita as well as several of her videos to find the footage I needed for my first video. I also looked over many of the controversies about her to see if there were any worth including in my video. I felt that the Let's Play controversy was the only one damning enough to be worth it. Anyway, up to that point I hadn't really paid attention to what I was actually seeing in any of these interviews, news posts, and videos because I was busy looking for the information I needed. Up to that point, I didn't really care about the whole issue, and was just out to cause mischief. When I sat down and thought about it though, I realized that Anita is a pretty shitty human being. Before, I had thought she was just an idiot who was being supported by a bunch of other idiots. But, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that she was also an opportunist who was getting way more support than she deserved. If you look at how she's structured her arguments, the sorts of tightly controlled public appearances she's made, and the sorts of dishonest things she's been caught doing, she comes across as someone who doesn't care at all about video games or the gaming industry, or even about honest scholarship. She's just someone who wants to advance her career and perpetuate the need for its relevance. Anita has framed herself as a victim and all people who disagree with her as misogynists. She has given lectures around the world, not about gaming, but about how misogynistic gamers are and how necessary her work is. Most of her lectures are held in secret, with university campus police scouring the crowd to make sure nobody's recording her. The rationale for this is apparently that Anita is so viciously hated by angry male gamers that publishing her lectures will make the universities a target. So far, this media blackout has been successful. Anita's videos about video games revolve around the idea that we're all implicitly hating women by playing or making many popular games. She thinks that sexualizing women is morally wrong, that portraying women in any position of vulnerability or suffering is also wrong, and that you're a misogynist if you like or create this sort of characterization. She also does little but talk about how much she hates video games in every video. We've also learned that she's lied about numerous things. She claims to have done her own independent research on video games, yet it's been proven that many things she says are lifted almost verbatim from Wikipedia and TV tropes, and that she has stolen Let's Play footage from other YouTubers and passed it off as her own. She claims to have been an avid gamer her whole life, yet I and others have uncovered evidence that this isn't true. After making my first video, I made another video debunking a few of her responses with some of her old tweets and videos. She deleted one of the more incriminating tweets within hours of my video coming out. She doesn't have time for her critics, yet she seems to have huge amounts of time to make herself look good. Anita got $160,000 for her Kickstarter project, and has spent the past year half-assing and shirking work on her videos so she could do a lecture circuit around the world and make even more money, all while the donations on her website continue to pile up. Why does all this matter? In and of itself, it doesn't. All this stuff means is that Anita is a scumbag. The world isn't exactly short on scumbags. The problem is that she's a scumbag people are taking seriously. The reason gamers are afraid of feminism now is because for the first time in gaming history, people like Anita are being taken seriously. In the past, opportunistic people looking to boost their careers by leading campaigns against video game violence and sexualization were lampooned almost universally by the gaming press. Everybody mocked Jack Thompson and Hillary Clinton for saying video games cause violence. Everybody laughs at the Christian groups who think video games will turn women into whores. Not so with Anita. This woman is a laughingstock and a walking example of feminism gone wrong, yet she has received praise and support from nearly every major gaming news outlet, as well as several important figures in the industry itself. She has given talks to Bungie and EA about developing games, despite not caring to play them until she decided to do research for her Kickstarter project. One thing I noticed while reading video game news articles about Anita is that there's a huge disconnect between the tone of the articles and the tone of the comments. While the articles are often filled with glowing praise of Anita and her bravery, the comments are almost invariably filled with people who think she's a moron. The gaming press is failing to represent gamers in their articles, and instead allowing itself to be swayed by social justice types. I think a lot of the people being persuaded by these feminists mean well, but they make the mistake of thinking that they represent all women, when they don't. Anita and her social justice buddies have proven very adept at controlling the conversation, and regular gamers, male and female, haven't been able to get a word in edgewise. The gaming media has no room for it, and it should. That is one of my underlying reasons for making these videos. I don't want somebody like Anita representing anyone. I don't want someone like Anita convincing people that her perverse feminist ideas are worth being taken seriously. If there was ever a case for feminism's obsolescence, it's Anita Sarkeesian. Feminism used to be about fighting real discrimination that affected real people in real life. Having apparently run out of sexism to fight in the real world, Anita has taken to going after sexism in imaginary worlds. Even our dumb, escapist fantasies aren't okay anymore, as such deviant thoughts could lead to real-life misogyny and we all need to be reconditioned. Many of Anita's sex-negative feminist views have been shaped by people like Gail Dines, a feminist anti-porn activist. While looking up information about Anita, I learned that she happens to own her book and thinks she's wonderful. It's also a source of confusion to many that Anita so strongly condemns video games where women are sexualized or victimized, yet doesn't care at all when it happens to men. This attitude is based on a poisonous, radical version of feminism. Rather than viewing oppressive tropes and gender roles as something perpetuated by social norms that both men and women are complicit in for a variety of reasons, this belief system divides men and women into privileged and oppressed classes, and is essentially used to justify the idea that women can do no wrong and men can do no right. Every social issue is then seen through that lens. In this view, misandry doesn't exist, and Anita has said as much herself. Violence against women is terrible, violence against men is not. Sexualization of women is bigoted, sexualization of men is not. This is why Anita and her cohorts came down so hard against the maker of the beat-up Anita Sarkeesian game, yet all enjoyed the fanfiction written about Anita brutally murdering Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox Software. In their eyes, this is equality. Men can't be oppressed because they're part of the dominant culture, and women can't be oppressors because they're all victims of the patriarchy. However, the events surrounding the Anita Sarkeesian situation have shown a different reality. With all the support, airtime and financial backing she's gotten, Anita can't exactly claim to be oppressed. Yet, she has the nerve to accuse guys like myself of white male privilege while traveling around the world, eating expensive food, wearing fashionable designer clothing, being adored by crowds of people, and being secure in the reality that she won't need to have a real job for years, if at all. All because she's so adept at playing the victim. This is not empowerment, it's not equality, it's not bravery, and supporting people like her in this way is going to drag everyone down. So, that's all I have to say for the moment. Barring some new development, I've probably reached the limit of new things I'm going to be able to uncover about Anita. One thought I did have though was that we should create a blog that has all of the information about Anita's deceit collected together on one page. This information is currently not very well known and spread thinly across random parts of the internet. Having it all unified in one accessible place that people could be shown would help. As it happens, I'm not very good at designing web pages, so I would not be the ideal person to do this. The honest truth of the matter is that I'm not particularly talented, and I don't think I'll be very useful as far as exposing Anita is concerned. I just got thrown into this whole situation by random chance, so, until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for suffering through yet another crappy video. Peace.